Okie dokie. Late at night, in the dimly lit corridors of an old school, there was a particular restroom that everyone avoided. It was the restroom at the farthest end of the building, where the shadows seemed to linger a little longer and the air felt unusually cold. This restroom was said to be haunted by a malevolent spirit known as Aka Manto. Aka Manto, or the Red Cloak, was a figure of terror in the whispers of students and the warnings of janitors. He was described as a tall, imposing figure draped in a flowing red cloak. His face was always hidden behind a mask, but those who had caught a glimpse claimed he was unnervingly handsome and had a charm that belied his sinister intentions. According to legend, Aka Manto would appear to anyone who was unfortunate enough to use the restroom late at night. He specifically haunted the stall at the furthest wall, waiting silently for his next victim. And as the story goes, if someone was sitting on the toilet, they would suddenly hear a soft, chilling voice asking a question. Do you want red paper or blue paper? The terror of Aka Manto lay not just in his presence, but in the gruesome consequences of the choices he offered. If the person chose the red paper, they would meet a horrific end. Their body would be lacerated in a way that left them drenched in their own blood, often described as being flayed or stabbed to death. The exact method varied, but the result was always the same, a gruesome blood-soaked scene. If the person chose the blue paper, their fate was no less grim. They would either be strangled to death, their face turning a ghastly shade of blue, or all their blood would be drained from their body, leaving them cold and lifeless. Some versions of the legend added more twisted options. If offered red and white paper, choosing the red would summon a monstrous red tongue from the toilet to lick the person from below, while choosing the white would result in a pale, ghostly hand reaching up to fondle them. The most cunning individuals might think to outsmart Aka Manto by choosing a different color or bringing their own toilet paper, but Aka Manto was always one step ahead. Those who brought their own toilet paper would find it mysteriously vanished when they needed it. Asking for a different color would result in the person being dragged to an underworld or hell, and choosing yellow would lead to their head being forced into the toilet, often until they drown. Despite the horror, there was a way to escape Aka Manto's deadly game. If one ignored the spirit or simply replied that they did not want or need any paper, the spirit would simply vanish, leaving them unharmed. The simple act of refusal was the only way to survive an encounter with the dreaded Aka Manto. And as the legend spread, students and teachers alike would share the story, each adding their own embellishments and warnings. The restroom at the end of the hall remained a place of fear, and few dared to venture there alone, especially after dark. The legend of Aka Manto became a chilling reminder of the unseen terrors that could lurk in the most mundane places, waiting for a moment of weakness to strike. When it comes to encountering Aka Manto, there are indeed a few glimmers of hope amidst the horror. Although the legend is often full of grisly outcomes, some stories suggest ways to escape this malevolent spirit's deadly choices. So when the Aka Manto appears and asks if you want red or blue paper, instead of opting for red or blue, what if you choose another color? Some versions of the story hint at a way out. If a person responds by saying they don't want or need paper, Aka Manto might simply vanish, sparing their life. This response shows no preference and might be seen as a way to disrupt the spirit's twisted game. There are several accounts of different responses involving various colors. If the victim requests yellow, some legends say Aka Manto might temporarily disappear, giving them just enough time to escape. This alternative isn't as widely known, but offers a curious twist to the tale. Another potential escape plan involves witty or evasive responses. Some stories suggest that clever retorts such as, "I prefer not to play," can confuse or frustrate the spirit, causing him to lose interest and leave. However, this is far from guaranteed, as spirits like Aka Manto are notoriously unpredictable. And beyond these specific responses, there are tales that emphasize the importance of a calm and composed demeanor. Fear and panic are often thought to empower malevolent entities, and the Aka Manto is no different. Showing courage or remaining indifferent could make the spirit less likely to choose his next victim. Another school of thought involves enlisting supernatural help. Carrying protective charms or invoking the names of gods and spirits for protection can be seen in many folklore traditions around the world, Japan included. For Aka Manto, carrying a protective talisman or reciting a powerful chant may create a spiritual barrier against him. One modern twist involves the context of the encounter. In today's digitized and hyper-connected world, the location where you meet Aka Manto could make a difference. Public restrooms often have security cameras and higher foot traffic, which provide a rational layer of protection against being singled out by the spirit. Additionally, urban legends can change and lose power over time as belief in them wanes. But don't underestimate the power of disbelief. Some people believe that acknowledging the legend itself grants it power. If one approaches the story skeptically or with disbelief, it might strip Aka Manto of the influence he holds over people's minds. After all, how can an entity frighten someone who isn't fazed by its myth? Skepticism can act as a psychological armor, potentially weakening the spirit's grip. There is no definitive answer on how to escape Aka Manto for sure, but these alternative responses offer some fascinating insights into how humans cope with fear and the unknown. Whether it's through different choices, clever tactics, or sheer mental fortitude, these responses highlight our innate desire to find hope even in the darkest of tales. And while Aka Manto may remain one of the more terrifying figures in Japanese urban legends, stories of survival and outsmarting him inject much-needed variety into the chilling narrative. The legend thrives on fear, but as long as we're equipped with these alternative responses, there's always a fighting chance. Now, the Aka Manto does translate to red cloak or red cape. Aka Manto, I think manto means mantle. And it's a figure that's rooted in Japanese folklore. It started in the 1930s, and it was a time when many urban legends began to take hold in Japan. Over the years, the story of Aka Manto has evolved. There's various versions that circulate throughout the country, and despite the variations, the core of the legend remains unchanged. It has red attire, and it offers toilet paper. Aka Manto was once a handsome man who was constantly pursued by admirers, leading him to hide his face with a mask and seek solitude, but there's no real story behind that. The desire for isolation eventually morphed into something far more sinister. The red cloak he wears is said to symbolize the violence and bloodshed he now brings. And with that, I end today's show. All right, that's all I got for today. Thanks for listening. If you like it, hit that subscribe button for us. If you don't like it, that's okay too. Other than that, have a great day.